Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. So you're probably wondering, who is this dude and why am I watching him right now? Well, my name is Steven and I rebuild, repair, restore, and modify dirt bikes. So today is going to be part one of a build series on this channel on my own personal 2016 KLX110. I just purchased it from a guy super cheap. Apparently his son sank it into a pond and it got dirt and water inside the engine and he didn't want to put any money into it, so he just decided to get rid of it. I was able to get it for a great deal. I've got all the parts here. It's currently taken apart. The guy took the top end off of it himself and determined that he didn't want to fix it. And I think this will make a great base for a super sick pit bike build. So the first order of business is tearing the engine out of the frame. I'm going to go ahead and take the entire engine out, tear the whole bike down, suspension, wheels, plastics, electrical system, everything. And we're going to build this thing from the ground up. I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do with it, but I'd also like to ask you guys on a couple things and see which direction you feel we should go. So first things first, let me show you what we're starting with. Okay, so this is the bike in all its glory. It's not actually in bad shape. I believe the kid just rode it around his yard. And it really doesn't have much damage to it, honestly. Those are the original tires. It's got the original bars and grips, so it was ridden pretty lightly. And that's a good thing when you're starting to build. You don't want to buy a pit bike from a guy it's been adult ridden and jumped and not taken care of and beat up, so this is going to be a good base for the build. Now we're going to completely go over this thing and modify it to the hills, but it's going to be a good start. So this is how I got the bike. As you can see, it definitely got some water and dirt in there. The piston is covered with mud and dirt, and the rings are a little bit rusted. But the good news is that the rod is actually free, so that's a good sign. I'm going to split the cases anyway, even though I know some of you guys are probably thinking, oh, just put diesel fuel in it and clean it out and it'll probably run. And you're not wrong. It probably will run. But that's not how we do things around here. I'm going to go through this thing top to bottom so I have a complete idea of what I'm dealing with and make this thing right. I don't plan on taking it apart anytime soon after this, so I want to make sure it's 100% dialed in before I ride it. As you can see, the bike's really not that bad. With the exception of the engine, everything else seems to be fine. There is a couple things wrong with it, like the brake pedal's bent and the bars are twisted a little bit, but those are getting replaced anyway. So like I said, this is going to be a great build to start with. I have plans for this thing. I think we're going to go ahead and go with a 143 kit. I don't know exactly what brand yet. There's a couple options out there, but once I get this thing apart and determine everything I do need, I'm going to start making an aftermarket parts list. I'm definitely going with the 143. I'm probably going to do a different carburetor and air filter system, get rid of that small air box that comes on it. I'm also going to do a pipe, and I don't know which brand yet, so if you guys have any suggestions on what I should get, leave a comment down below and let me know what the best pipe for a 110 is. I think we're also going to do some black rims, just because I hate these big steel chrome rims that come on it. Not only do they bend easy, but they're really, really hard to change tires on, so I think we're going to put on some Excel black rims, and then as far as the bodywork goes, we're going to do something black-white. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm definitely getting rid of the green because I really don't like the way that looks. And I'm going to go ahead and powder coat the whole frame. I think we're going to do black, but stay tuned and we'll see how this build evolves. So first things first, we got to get this thing torn down. I'm going to throw you guys up on a time lapse and rip it apart. No, really, always tighten the drain. All right, so there you have it. We got the whole bike torn apart. Frame and swing arm are ready to go out for powder coat. Like I said, I think we're gonna be doing a black on this build. I just don't really dig the silver. There's nothing wrong with it. The paint's perfect, but I just gotta do things the way I wanna do them. So we're going black on the frame and swing arm. So the goal for this bike is to be a stock mod pit bike, which means that we're not gonna do any crazy suspension upgrades or chassis upgrades. It's gonna be stock swing arms, stock suspension, shocks, everything's gonna be stock. It's not gonna be jacked up, you know, upside down forks and all that. What we are gonna do is modify the engine. Like I said, 143 kit, 26mm carburetor. We're gonna do a little bit of head work, and we're probably going to go ahead and put new valves and a whole valve train in there. Again, I haven't ripped into the engine. You can see it on the bench behind me. That's gonna be up next. Okay, so like you guys saw earlier, before the teardown, this thing definitely got some dirt and water in there. It's not in the worst shape, and if I'm being honest, he probably would have been okay if he just cleaned flushed it out with some diesel fuel, took the cases off, and cleaned it right when it happened. But unfortunately, he let it sit, and I think it just made matters worse. Now, that's not rust because this is an aluminum piston. It's just a lot of dirt on there, as you can see. The rings are rusted, and there's dirt in them as well. Honestly, the worst part is actually the head, and I was surprised to see that. Nothing I can't fix, but look at the intake, man. Like, that's just disgusting. That's just dirt and corrosion from all the water that they let sit in there for so long. So this thing's going to definitely need to come apart. We're going to go ahead and do new valves anyway because they're super cheap, but just look at how dirty that thing is in there. Now, luckily for me, I've got access to a vapor blaster, so this thing is going to come out absolutely brand new. Luckily, none of the bearings are seized up. The cam looks fine. Obviously, I haven't taken it out yet, but the bearing is perfect, so I'm assuming the cam's not rusted. But obviously, they didn't get the water out of the intake and exhaust side and the combustion chamber because that's just destroyed. Regardless, that thing's going to be okay. We're going to vapor blast it and get it all cleaned up. The cylinder's actually not bad. You can see it's rusted as well because this is a cast iron sleeve. But we're going to be tossing this thing anyway. We can go ahead and get a 143 kit cylinder that they sell. So this I'm not even going to need to use. Regardless, the head's in good shape. Other than that, I'm probably going to go ahead and need to cut the seats as well because I'm sure they're rusted. Hopefully not too bad. But the next thing we got to do is tear into this thing. Now I'm assuming since it had oil in it, everything in the bottom end should be free. I know the rod is free and everything, so I'm assuming that all the water was sitting on top of the piston. It may have seeped down a little bit, but usually the rings catch most of it. And as you can see, it was sitting there for quite a while. From the looks of it, there's no rust or any indication that there was a ton of water down in the lower end. It'd probably be fine to run, but just the way I am, I'm going to tear it apart, make sure everything's good, we have no bearing issues, and then I'm probably going to go ahead and vapor blast this engine as well. So if you're still watching this video, stick around. We're going to tear this thing down real quick. So I do actually have an engine stand, but unfortunately this engine, being that it's top mounted, which means the mount points are on the top of the engine, this one doesn't actually fit, so I'm having to work off these blocks. But that's okay, that's the old way of doing it anyway. They did this for years. It's just tough going back once you've been on an engine stand that rotates. It'll flip that way and you can rotate it either direction. Unfortunately, I'm going to be manhandling this one, but we'll get it done. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the teardown. As you can see, we got the whole engine laid out here. These engines look big from the outside, but there's really not much to them, honestly. They're really simple inside. A lot of what you see has to do with that clutch. This is an automatic one. It's not the L version with the manual clutch, so there's a much more complicated clutch system in there. But yeah, so we got it all apart. I have to go get a brass hammer to hit that out because the crank bearings are attached on these things, and that thing's pretty tight in that case. And Snap-on man currently has my brass hammer, so I'm gonna have to go get another one and pound this thing out so I don't do any damage to it. But the good news is the rod bearing is free. It appears to be okay. I'm gonna pop this clip off here later and see, make sure that the top end bearing pin area is okay. If that's the case, I'm going to reuse this crank. All the bearings seem to be really good. Luckily, the guy left the oil in the this thing for a while, so it actually, nothing rusted inside, which is honestly best case scenario for leaving the oil in there. Even though it had water in it, it did its job and kept everything from rusting, so that was a really good thing that he did, even if it was on accident. As you can see, there's tons of dirt in the engine. I mean, like I said, this thing probably would have run if you just rebuilt the top end. Regardless, this stuff probably would have never came out. So you can see there's just a ton of sludge and mud, dirt, whatever you call it, just sitting in the bottom of the engine. But the good news is the bones are good, so we're gonna go ahead and clean this thing up. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for part 1 of this build project. In part 2, we're gonna be reassembling everything. We're gonna clean it all up, vapor blast it, and make it look brand new, and start putting the engine back together. In the meantime, I'm gonna get all these parts on order that I need: 143 kit, carburetor, get some wheels in here, seat cover, all the good stuff. I'm gonna be spending the next couple days looking for aftermarket parts. I know I wanna do handlebars, foot pegs, all that fun stuff. So that's coming up in parts 2 and 3. If you enjoyed everything, please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. I appreciate you if you're still watching this. And I am new at this, so as you may have noticed, this is the only video on the channel. It's not a helmet cam GoPro, so if you got anything to say, leave it in the comments. I'll be responding to everybody because there's probably not going to be that many comments. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's not too fun to watch somebody tear a bike down, but the next parts will be a lot better because we get to put cool shit on. So, all right, peace.